Hello, this is Community Unity Now, the D Tycoon Show. My name is Trudy Leong, Administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. My partner, President of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, Bill Morton, cannot be here with us today. Our very special guest is Jaroslaw Golembiowski.
Also from Rogers Park.
Yes, also from Rogers Park. He is a composer, a pianist, a collector of music, yes, and also quite a historian. Maybe not in an official capacity, but you know so much. So what is happening? And then you have this cassette over here. Tell us a little bit about that cassette.
Sure. I came to Chicago in 1986 as a immigrant, of course, like we all immigrants here. And I was very excited to pursue my studies. And I took a course at the University of Chicago. And then I got a job to play music in a restaurant.
Oh.
And I was going to Chicago Library, to Washington Library. At that time, it was not called the Washington Library. And then I noticed that there are a lot of published Polish music at the Polish Museum of America.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of jealous that my music is still not published. So I wanted to do something about that. And then I prepared and recorded my first CD called Walking Through Chicago. And it's on a tape. At that time, that's what we used. So I was walking through Chicago, and I was dreaming and imagining the music, and we can see the titles here: Clark Street Walking, movie story. Then I saw a fountain. Then we had some fun in Chicago. And then it was short romance and jazz promenade. So these are the reflections of my visions and feeling of Chicago during the day, during the night. And some of the pieces are actually, I wrote in Poland when I was pianist for the ballet company in Wrocław. And then some of them I wrote just in Chicago, just being impressed with the beautiful city. And also the second book is called Ars Amandi, and it's more personal.
What does Ars Amandi mean?
The art of love.
Oh.
So there is, it is about every day how you fall in love, how you fall in love with people, animals, and you know it's every day you fall in love with whatever you like, right? And then that's how your personality develops. And music, you have to have a heart for the music. You have to love the music in order to have time to and be persistent to practice. So we all need to love what we do. And I was lucky enough that I could stay and work as a musician, playing music, writing the music, discovering the music, and especially I was very much influenced by the collection at the Polish Museum of America. They do have a special collection. And at that time, Mr. Sajewski, because that's the main subject, I think, at the next concert that we are going to have in Willow Springs and maybe also in another location, I was searching the music that was published in Chicago. So, for example, there is Haller March, which is very famous general from Blue Army, Polish Blue Army, that was fighting during the World War I, when the Polish was established again after 123 years of not existence. And
who was Poland was under the control of who? What country in that 120 years?
Oh, we were occupied by three different countries. We had Prussia, Russia, and Austria.
Okay.
So we had three different regions, and Polish people lived and were speaking different languages because we were sent to Russian school, Austrian school, or Prussian school. So we were trying to have our tradition. But then the story is that during World War II, we also lost the territory. Two-thirds, or I think one-third of the Polish territory was given by President Roosevelt to Russia as a, I guess, thank you gift for killing so many people. And then we moved to what was given to us by the treaty to what is not what it used to be Germany. So people actually from eastern side of Poland moved to west side. So they were mostly Polish Ukrainian speaking people. But then during the World War II, since people were moving, and also it was Poland was very poor, a lot of people moved to United States. And at first the oldest settlement is Panna Maria in Texas, and then another one was in Buffalo, and then of course Chicago was very prominent. And in Chicago people were always trying to save the traditions, the songs, and the publishers. There was many publishers, but the main one was Mr. W.H. Sajewski, and he published and arranged a lot of Polish music. But it was not only Poland, but it was also Lithuania and Ukraine. I think there were a lot of publishers and different Eastern European nationalities. And since we lost our countries, they either became, during the World War II, either Russian or German. The country, that part of Europe was divided between two countries. So people had to run and survive, and we tried to sing Polish songs, still to be Polish, and with a hope that it will go back to Poland. And so these songs that were published by Sajewski and Małek and other publishers are Polish music, Polish patriotic music, Polish folk music, and a lot of music for the choir. We had a lot of choirs at the time, actually, in the United States. We even organized what used to be a Masonic temple downtown, the competition, the choir competition. I remember probably the last one that I was participating in that competition. So the Polish.
In other words, you were singing in the choir too.
No, I was playing percussion, I think, at the time. I wasn't. Okay. I used to sing in a choir for many years in Poland. And here I sometimes sing with the Lincoln Chamber Orchestra or with the soloist participant of the Marcelina Sembrich-Kochańska competition, which is very rare, and people are always surprised that I can sing. So I have fun with that. So
multi-talented.
Yeah, well, it's not mostly talented. It's mostly that's how musicians are trained in Poland. We in the United States too. We all should sing. I think that's our joy, and that's why this music, different songs, were published here with the notes and with the words and arranged for the choir, for the piano, for very unusual instruments for us, like a concertina. Some people don't even know how concertina looks. It's like a small accordion, right? And there are I know some collectors in Chicago who are still just collecting, and they used to play on these instruments. And also in Chicago was very famous for producing roles for piano players. And there is a lot of roles. The Polish pianists especially were like experimenting, like Joseph Hoffman, and also the Rachmaninoff, the most famous musicians in the world. Actually, they've been recorded on piano players, and we still have a lot of piano players. I think that it would be nice to have to go to the Polish Museum of America with camera and enjoy what do they have in their collection. They have a lot of piano rolls. They have a lot of music. They do have
piano rolls.
Piano rolls is like a regular piano, and you could have also grand piano with the piano rolls. And then I do have I didn't bring it. Next time I'll bring piano rolls.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, you mean like that little scroll thing? Yeah, that has like the music. I mean, it's like
It plays by itself, but when you have to have a pedals at the bottom of the piano, and then you pedal and you play music. And if you pedal quite fast, then music is performed faster. If you play slow, the music is barely played. But then if you have an engine or automatic, there are automatic like buttons that you can press, and Rachmaninoff can play the way the music was recorded by him. So we can hear original performance by Rachmaninoff, by Paderewski, by Joseph Hoffman, and many other pianists. And this music, this folk music, like I'm mentioning, it was recorded not just by Polish people, like Ukrainian, Lithuanian, all the ethnic groups. But what is interesting that it was done in Chicago, in the United States, because at that time Europe was in a war.
turmoil.
So for 5 years, the Polish music was basically published here, and also maybe in major cities like Detroit. But since I live here, so I'm collecting music from here. Then
one more question. Though.
Sure.
The piano rolls, is that like like let's say you have cassette music that's recorded on cassette. So the piano rolls actually was a representation of music, but on a piano roll, right?
Yes, there are dots. Dots are printed, and then these dots represent the way the music is played. Well, it's I might record some, and we can listen next time.
You could still record on a piano roll.
I have one piano player at storage. I have my neighbor. He's a collector. He has the grand piano. So we have a huge collection of piano rolls.
Wow.
And I also purchased and I'm collecting music, and this music, not only this music, but a lot of very famous pianists are giving me some music so I could pass the knowledge and the music to my students and to whoever needs the music from that period.
So the artists, when they give you the music, do they want you to, when you present it in its pure form, or are they okay with you using your imagination and changing it a little bit, or combining it with other music?
No, it would not be nice to change too much.
Okay.
But like a publisher, when I'm publishing music, and if I have copyright permission, that of course I can change the music. This folk music is free. It belongs to the World Heritage, so we can change whatever. We can arrange this, and each year, the American Congress is publishing the list of the music that it's available, that belongs, that the copyrights are no longer, there's no restrictions. The family doesn't have any, is not gaining anything, but everybody can change it. That law, I don't know exactly when it was first created, but usually it's 75 years after the composer's death that we could use that music. So every year that what is free, it's published, and we are very happy because we can change and finally arrange the Beatles, the music that we love. Maybe Kurt Weill, for example, is beautiful music. Of course, Chopin, Beethoven, Mozart belongs to World Heritage. So we can use it and change it and arrange it, and we can have more fun. We can adapt to our ears right now. I would like to go back to to my first years in like I said, I came here in 1986, and I started not collecting, but cataloging the music at the Polish Museum of America, and I was doing it for many years. And the present director, Jan Lorish, was bringing me the big packages from Mr. Sajewski. When he passed away, his family donated the music to the Polish Museum of America, and that music was not published. Basically none was published, but there's no interest in reviving this music, and I could say that this music is worth of reviving. So then our next concert, after 40 years, I was able with conductor Konrad Pawełek to spend like whole year this year to preparing this music, so we could perform this music with the students, with the Polonia Orchestra Chicago, which is orchestra that Konrad Pawełek started, and I started, as you know, Chicago Chopin Society. So together, two organizations, we've put together our talents, and we prepared the old music to perform, and from next week we have a premiere at this 100 years old music that nobody heard. I mean, these arrangements of the music for the band, for different kind of arrangement, for the brass band, for the violins, instruments. And what we discovered, for example, like nobody knows in practice about concertina. At that time, for example, there was a flute in D major, which is a transposing instrument, and I don't expect that everybody will understand the trouble what we had to go through, because nobody is using again D major flute, piccolo. So I had to transform all that music to our instrument and transpose all the music to a different tune, so the orchestra could perform in the same key.
So in other words, flutes that were made before didn't. No, the flutes that are made now are incompatible with the music that was written before, because that was written for another kind of flute.
Right, the flute, we don't even know how that flute, maybe the flute looked the same way, but because we have a lot of transposing instruments, like clarinets or saxophones are transposing instruments, and they are still using them. But that was a very strange thing that we discovered, that it says piccolo, it doesn't even say flute, it says piccolo, and that piccolo usually is considered a small flute that plays one octave higher, but that flute that music is written like here in this book, this collection, is transposing instrument. So also when we started performing the way it is written, everything was wrong. It was like half step too low. So it was cacophony. And there are many different way that the music at that time was notated, as we can see, and of course, so for example, you can see this sign. There's a little sign fermata, and fermata where the music stops. But then this is the repetition sign. There is a repetition sign in the music, and fermata. I mean, that just doesn't make sense. Either you stop the music or you repeat the music. So
what did they mean over there then?
Well, that means that the next part starts. Actually, then you need a little break, for example. But then they are saying, instead of saying that music will end here, they used to have fermata for saying that music ends here, that you need to go to the next part and then repeat from the very beginning all the way to fermata. Right now, like at the end of the movie, you see, especially in Europe, you see fine, means the end.
Yes.
So fermata in this music means the end. That's the end of the composition, which took me a lot of not research but thinking to discover that the meaning of that fermata here. And fermata in Italian, I think it's a bus stop, so it's mean where you wait. So, so you wait for the next bus. In the music, you wait for the next song to start. So there are little things like that they are very interesting. How people were trying to communicate to the performers, and right now with understanding the meaning of the symbols here, we can perform this music with understanding which instruments are transposing instrument. We can rewrite that music and hear that music. We can have the musicians. And what is the most interesting, that the students from a grammar school and a high school were willing to enjoy, to practice this music. And that's what makes us very, very happy, that this is not just one time, but this is for the whole year, and this is for the generation.
That's very gratifying to see that your students appreciate it and are enjoying what they're learning.
Yes, absolutely.
I did want to mention, languages evolve. It seems as if even music language evolves then.
Absolutely, languages, and that music is actually written like in old Polish, not sometimes folk music, but usually the music is written by famous poets and maybe not so famous, but it's still old Polish. Sometimes we need to translate the words into contemporary music, and sometimes we adopt the older words that nobody is using anymore, and we are changing it so we all can understand.
What about the students? Are they all Polish people or of origin, or are they?
I think they're all Polish origin because they are from a Saturday school. As you know, in Chicago, all foreign students, they usually have their they go to the original language school on Fridays or Saturdays. It depends from their religion. Sometimes that's how it's connected, and sometimes they have Sunday schools. So usually these 3 days, I notice, since I teach a lot of students from a different background, that people usually go either to Jewish school or to Polish school or to church school. So it all depends.
And also, it seems as if music is so important to the Polish tradition. So when they're at school, how much of the curriculum is dedicated to music? Like a third?
I think not much. That's why this is very unique that we have a Polonia Orchestra created. They do have band in their regular school, right? But they perform more like musicals or band music. But who would think to perform just Polish music? It's only Lithuanian music. So this is we are all trying to connect and bring the Polishness to American whose parents are Polish. So this way they are learning Polish tradition, Polish music, Polish language, and Polish history. And they are getting familiar, and then they fall in love with Poland. And then they go to Poland, and they fall in love in Poland. So that's our goal, basically. So we all still love Poland. Poland is very developed country right now, and we are enjoying to do this as educators.
If our viewers want to learn more about what you are doing, how do they? Where do they go? And also, where is the Polish National Museum?
Oh, Polish National Museum. Well, it's on Milwaukee Avenue, Milwaukee and Augusta. I don't want to give the wrong address.
Oh, that's okay.
Right now. And the Sajewski publisher was also on Milwaukee, 1017 Milwaukee Avenue. It doesn't exist anymore. And our you could actually call at 773-988-3663. And I'm giving my number because if maybe you do have a collection of the Polish music and you don't know what to do with that, so I'm saying I'm using it. I'm giving it to the students. There were a lot of how to play piano, how to play violin and different instruments in English and in Polish, which is very important. And I'm using these books so students understand the terminology in Polish and in English.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Jaroslaw
Trudy.
Golembiowski, composer and pianist. Thank you so much for being with the Community Unity Now, the D Tycoon Show. From Bill Morton and me, Trudy Leong, we thank you so much for watching, and we will see you again next week.
Thank you.